There's a moment almost everyone experiences. You've been sitting for a while, 20 minutes, maybe an hour, then you stand up, and in that exact second, your body sends a strong signal. Your knees feel tight, your legs feel heavy, like they're filled with wet sand. You pause, you grab support, you do that small shuffle. Then after 5, 10 steps, it's gone. You're walking normally again. Most people say, that's just aging. But the truth is, it's not just aging. It's a signal from your body, and it shouldn't be ignored. My name is Connell. I've spent years inside the science of how the human body ages. Not the textbook version of aging, but the real, biological, microscopic version. The version that happens quietly inside your joints, your blood vessels, your gut lining, and your brain, long before anything shows up on an X-ray. And what I've found is this: that stiffness you feel every time you try to stand up, it is one of the most information-rich signals your body produces. It's not random, it's not inevitable, and it's definitely not just age. It is a body response, a complex, multi-layered signal that connects your knees to your metabolism, your nervous system, your gut, your hydration, and even the way you breathe. Today, I want to walk you through every single one of those connections. I want to explain them in plain language. No textbook terminology without a clear definition, no scare tactics, no miracle promises. Just the truth about what is happening inside your knees and what it might be telling you about the rest of your body. By the time we're done today, I want you to look at that stiffness completely differently. Not as an enemy, not as a sign of defeat, but as a map. A detailed, remarkably accurate map of what your internal environment looks like right now. Because if you can read the map, you can change the terrain. Let's get into it. But before we go any further, the fine print, because it matters. I am a researcher, a health storyteller, a person who has spent a significant portion of his life obsessing over the science of human longevity. I am not a physician. I am not your doctor. I am not diagnosing you. And nothing we discuss today should replace a real, honest conversation with your own medical professional. What I am doing today is giving you a framework, a new lens through which to look at something you've probably been ignoring or misunderstanding for years. Research suggests these links exist. Studies point to these connections. But every human body is its own incredibly complex, deeply personal system. So take what resonates, question what doesn't, and bring what you learned today into your next doctor's appointment. Because the best medical conversations happen when the patient walks in with real curiosity, not just a list of complaints. All right, now let's talk about the concrete pour. I want you to imagine a freshly poured sidewalk. When the concrete first comes out of the truck, it's fluid. It moves. It can be shaped, smoothed, redirected. A worker can drag a tool through it and leave a perfect line. It responds. It listens. But here's what happens when you walk away and leave it alone for an hour or two. It starts to set. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't make a sound. It just slowly, quietly, molecule by molecule, begins to lock into place. And by the time you come back and try to reshape it, it resists you. The tool that slid through it effortlessly before now scrapes and catches. It fights you. That is what is happening inside your knee joint every time you sit still for an extended period of time. And here's the biology behind that analogy. And this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. Research has identified what scientists are now calling senescent cells. These are sometimes informally called zombie cells. And when you understand what they do, that name makes complete sense. In a perfectly healthy, young biological system, cells live their lives, do their jobs, and when they get damaged or old, they receive a signal to self-destruct. It's called apoptosis. It's a clean, efficient, natural process, like a self-cleaning oven. Old, damaged cells remove themselves to make room for new ones. But as we move through our 50s and beyond, some of those cells stop following the instructions. They stop working. They stop self-destructing. But they also don't leave. They just linger. They stay inside the joint, inside the tissue, inside the fluid, and they do something particularly damaging. They scream. Not literally, of course, but they emit a constant low-level stream of inflammatory chemical signals. Researchers call this the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, which is a mouthful, so let's just call it what it is: cellular noise. This cellular noise travels directly into the synovial fluid of your knee joint, that clear, slippery, hydraulic fluid whose entire job is to keep your joint surfaces from ever making contact. In a young, healthy joint, that fluid is almost like liquid glass, thin, slippery, effortless. But when those zombie cells are screaming their inflammatory signals into it, that fluid changes. Proteins that don't belong there start to accumulate. The fluid becomes viscous, thick, resistant. The concrete starts to pour. And when you sit for an hour, perfectly still, that fluid has time to settle, to thicken around the joint, to start the process of setting. When you stand up and feel that wooden block sensation, that's the force your muscles are exerting to break through that thickened, protein-heavy, inflamed fluid. You aren't fighting gravity. You are fighting your own biology, specifically a biology that has been quietly compromised by cells that refused to leave when their shift was over. That's the first link, and it changes everything about how you think about the problem. I want you to sit with that for a moment, not the complexity of it, just the implication, because the implication is enormous. If the stiffness is caused by a fluid quality problem, by biological concrete setting in a compromised joint environment, then the question isn't, how do I replace the joint? The question becomes, how do I stop the concrete from pouring? That's a completely different problem, and it has completely different solutions. We'll talk about those solutions. But first, let's add the next layer to this picture, because the zombie cells are only one part of the story. Let's talk about what I call the short circuit. Your entire body is an electrical system. Every movement you make, every contraction, every step, every shift in balance is governed by electrical signals racing through your nervous system at extraordinary speeds. For your knee to function smoothly, two groups of muscles have to work in perfect coordination. The muscles on the front of your thigh, your quadriceps, fire to extend and support the joint. The muscles on the back, your hamstrings, fire to flex and control the movement. They have to take turns. They have to trust each other. But there's a hidden variable in this electrical story that most people have never heard about: blood sugar. Now, before you click away thinking, John, I don't have diabetes, this doesn't apply to me, please stay, because this is not about diabetes. This is about something that happens to almost every single person over 50, regardless of whether they've ever been diagnosed with anything. Research suggests that even moderate day-to-day spikes in blood sugar, the kind that come from white bread, pasta, packaged snacks, sweet drinks, can temporarily disrupt the electrical quality in your peripheral nervous system. Think of it as signal static. Now, your brain is monitoring your body every millisecond. It is constantly receiving status reports from your muscles, your joints, your tendons. And when the signal quality drops, when there's static in the system, your brain does something completely logical but incredibly inconvenient. It stops trusting the system. It decides it can't rely on those quadriceps and hamstrings to coordinate properly. It worries that the timing might be off. And if the timing is off, you could lose your balance. You could fall. You could get hurt. So your brain does what any responsible security system would do when it detects a malfunction. It locks the joint. It sends a permanent sustained on signal to the muscles surrounding your knee. It keeps them contracted, not moving, not flexing, not extending, just braced, clenched, stiff. Scientists call this hypertonicity, an excessive sustained muscle contraction that the brain is using as a substitute for trust. Your knee is stiff, not because the joint is broken. Your knee is stiff because your brain has put it in a biological straitjacket, because it received corrupted signals and decided the safest option was to shut down voluntary movement until further notice. And here's the part that really lands when you think about it. Have you ever noticed that your knees feel significantly worse on high-stress days? When you're anxious about something, worried about a family situation, running on poor sleep? That's not a coincidence. That's not all in your head. Stress hormones, specifically cortisol, amplify this bracing response. They tell your nervous system to stay on high alert. And a nervous system on high alert keeps every muscle, every joint, every security door in your body locked tight. You aren't aging faster on stressful days. You're just living in a body that's been told by its own nervous system that danger is present and that the safest response is to brace for impact. I want to stop for a real moment here because I genuinely want to know your experience. Not theoretically, not in general terms. I want to know, have you ever noticed that on the days when life feels heavy, when there's something you're worried about, when the sleep the night before was broken and restless, your knees feel like they belong to someone much older? And then, on a good day, a day when you wake up feeling genuinely rested, when the morning is peaceful, when you don't feel that background hum of stress? Do your knees feel just a little bit lighter? If that pattern sounds familiar to you, I want you to type the word rewire in the comments right now. Because what you are describing is not a mechanical issue with a physical structure. What you are describing is a nervous system that has learned to brace and has forgotten how to let go. And that, unlike a worn-out hinge, is absolutely something we can work with. Now, let's travel somewhere unexpected. Let's travel to your gut. Stay with me, because this connection is one of the most powerful and most underappreciated links in the entire stiff knee conversation. In the last 15 years, research into the human microbiome, the vast complex ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that live in your digestive tract, has completely rewritten what we thought we knew about inflammation in the body. Here is what we now understand. Your gut lining is not just a digestive tube. It is one of the most active immune organs in your entire body. Think of it like the border security of a major country. Its job is to allow the right things across, nutrients, minerals, water, and to stop the wrong things, toxins, bacteria, undigested food particles. When that border is healthy, it does its job quietly and efficiently. You never think about it. But when the gut lining becomes compromised, from years of processed foods, from chronic stress, from certain medications, from the natural changes in our microbiome that research suggests occur as we age, those border walls develop gaps. And through those gaps, particles that were never supposed to enter the bloodstream enter. Your immune system, finding these foreign particles in the blood, immediately goes on the attack. It launches what researchers call systemic low-grade inflammation. It's not like a fever, dramatic and obvious. It's quiet, slow, almost invisible, but it's everywhere. And here's where your knees come in. Your knee joint is, from a circulatory standpoint, an outpost. It sits at the far edge of your body's supply chain. Blood gets there, but slowly. And when that blood arrives carrying those tiny, immune-generated alarm sparks of inflammation, they settle, they pool, they accumulate in the joint space. The result is a microscopic but real swelling inside the joint. Not enough to make your knee look visibly puffy, not enough to show up dramatically on a routine scan, but enough to increase the internal pressure, enough to make the joint feel full, like a door that won't close because there's too much air pressure on one side. That fullness, that pressure, that resistance every time you try to extend your leg after sitting. That might not be your knee. That might be your gut, sending fire signals through your blood, letting your knees take the blame. Let me give you the third layer of this picture, and this one involves something you do or don't do every single night. It's about sleep, but not in the way you think. Most people understand sleep as rest, as the body powering down, as the mind going quiet. But for your joints, sleep is not rest. It's the most active part of the cycle. Here's what research has uncovered in the last decade. While you sleep, your brain activates what's called the glymphatic system, essentially a cleaning crew that moves through your central nervous system during deep sleep, flushing out waste products, clearing inflammatory debris, and resetting the chemical balance in your tissues. Part of that flush involves your joints. Your body uses those deep, restorative sleep hours to push fresh synovial fluid through the joint, clearing out the concrete that accumulated during the day, removing those zombie cell screams, resetting the internal pressure. In a young, healthy body that sleeps deeply and uninterrupted, this process completes every night. You wake up and your joints have been refurbished. They're fresh. But for most people over 50, there's a problem, a serious one. The deep restorative sleep, specifically what's called stage 3 or slow wave sleep, becomes harder to achieve and easier to lose. Pain, stress, bathroom trips, a restless mind, they all fragment the sleep cycle. They pull you out of the deep stages before the cleaning crew can finish. So, every morning you wake up from a fragmented night's sleep, your joints are starting with yesterday's leftover debris. The crew came in, did half the job, and got sent home before they could finish. Night after night, if the sleep is broken, the buildup accumulates. The fluid never fully clears. The inflammation never fully resets. The bracing signal from the nervous system never fully releases. And you wake up every morning feeling like your knees were poured in concrete overnight. The stiffness isn't a mystery. It's a maintenance report on a cleaning cycle that didn't complete. And now, let's talk about something that nobody ever connects to knee stiffness. Something so simple, so unglamorous, that when I tell you, you might roll your eyes. the way you breathe. Bear with me. Your lymphatic system is one of the most important and least understood systems in your body. It's a vast network of vessels that runs parallel to your blood vessels, carrying a fluid called lymph. Lymph is the body's drain system. It collects cellular waste, inflammatory debris, and old proteins from your tissues and carries them away for disposal. But here's the critical difference between your lymphatic system and your cardiovascular system. Your heart pumps your blood. It's a mechanical pump. It never stops. Your lymphatic system has no pump. It relies entirely on two things: muscle movement and breathing, specifically the rise and fall of pressure in your chest and abdomen with each breath. Every time you take a full, deep belly breath, you create a wave of pressure that physically moves lymphatic fluid through the vessels. Every time you breathe shallowly, just into your upper chest, that pressure wave never happens. And as we get older, under more chronic stress, living more sedentary lives, most of us become habitual shallow breathers. We breathe in our chests. We hold slight tension in our stomachs. We breathe just enough to survive, not enough to truly flush the system. The result? In the outposts, the furthest points of the lymphatic network, fluid starts to stagnate. The drain slows down. Inflammatory waste accumulates in the joint. The fluid thickens, the pressure builds, and you feel it in your knees every single time you try to stand up after sitting still, because sitting still stops both the muscle movement and the deep breathing that moves your lymphatic system. You have been sitting quietly, breathing shallowly, for an hour. Your drain has been turned off the entire time, and now you're asking your joints to move through 40 minutes of accumulated cellular waste with zero flush. No wonder they resist. So let me bring all of this together, because by now, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. You've got zombie cells, nervous system short circuits, gut lining gaps, broken sleep cycles, and shallow breathing, all converging on a pair of knees that just wanted to help you get off the couch. But here's the thing I need you to hear, clearly and calmly. Not one of those things is irreversible. Not one. The body is not a machine that wears out. It is a living, breathing, constantly adapting biological system that responds, sometimes dramatically, to changes in its environment. The zombie cells? Research suggests that movement, even gentle, consistent movement, can slow their accumulation and help the body clear them more efficiently. The short circuit in your nervous system? Research suggests that managing blood sugar spikes, even modest dietary changes, can restore signal clarity and reduce that bracing response over time. The gut inflammation sending sparks to your knees? Research suggests that certain dietary shifts and probiotic support can help repair that gut lining, and when the border tightens up, the inflammatory sparks dramatically reduce. The broken sleep? Research suggests that sleep quality, the depth of it, not just the duration, is directly tied to your evening habits, your light exposure, your stress hormones, and your movement during the day. And the shallow breathing? That one costs you absolutely nothing to address. Right now, tonight, tomorrow morning. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Not a supplement list, not a treatment plan, but a completely new conversation to have with your body. The next time you sit down to watch TV or read a book or eat dinner, set a reminder for every 30 minutes. When it goes off before you even think about standing up, do this. Take 3 full breaths into your belly. Let your stomach expand outward, not your chest. Hold for a second at the top. Let it go slowly. Then wiggle your ankles. 10 gentle circles each direction. You are manually moving your lymphatic system. You are telling your drain to start working again. Then, before you stand, extend both legs out in front of you. Not all the way locked, just a gentle extension. Hold for 5 seconds. You are preheating the joint. You are asking the fluid to start moving before you put your full weight on it. Then stand, slowly, deliberately, with the understanding that the first 3 steps are a warm start, not a failure. That's it. That's the beginning of the conversation. It's not a cure, it's not a guarantee, but it is a direct response to the actual biology we just talked about. And if you do it consistently, research suggests the concrete pour starts to slow. The nervous system starts to trust again. The joint pressure starts to normalize. I want to leave you with one final thought. You know what's remarkable about the human body? It is honest, completely, brutally, beautifully honest. It doesn't stiff up your knees to punish you. It doesn't give you pain to make your life harder. Every signal, every ache, every stiffness, every wooden block feeling is information. It is your body communicating with extraordinary precision about the state of your internal world. The stiffness is not the problem. The stiffness is the message. And the message, if we translate it correctly, says this: I need the debris cleared. I need the wiring reset. I need the drain turned back on. I need rest that's actually restful. And I need you to stop pouring concrete into my joints with every meal and every sleepless night. That's not a hopeless message. That is an incredibly hopeful one, because it means the system is still talking. It means the body hasn't given up. It means there is still room, significant room, to change the environment, to shift the internal landscape, to give those joints the conditions they need to do what they were built to do. Move freely, carry you forward, without negotiation, without the shuffle. I'm John Connell. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Your body is not a machine being sold for parts. It is one of the most sophisticated, adaptable, resilient systems ever assembled in the history of this planet. Treat it like one. Listen to it like one. And don't you dare give up on it just because someone handed you a, well, you're just getting older, and called it an answer. You deserve a real answer. And today, I hope you got a little closer to one. I'll see you in the next one.